Welcome, Mead Talk.
Mead Talk.
Thank you so much for showing up tonight. It's another awesome episode of Mead Talk, one that we've already had before, apparently.
Yeah.
Doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist on the web, so we're going to do it again.
This was the Ghost Mead Talk.
The Ghost Mead Talk. We had a really good Mead Talk, and it was awesome. It was informative, and we really appreciate you for coming on. I wish everybody else could hear it. I think we might have the audio of it.
Yeah.
What's the requirement? Is it 3 meads? How many did Rob have that
Yes.
Yes.
night? How many did you have that night and
Might
didn't turn the
have been
camera
a
on?
lot. And what, and nobody knows your name because that Mead Talk doesn't exist.
Oh, that is true. Yeah.
Yes. But before we get there, the whole Mead Talk, what it's about. Well, first of all, the rules for Mead Talk. You have to drink 3 meads before you can come on Mead Talk.
Trace.
Un, deux, trois.
3 anise.
Thrice.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah. I was just going different languages.
Oh,
Yeah.
But yeah, 3 meads. We believe that it dissolves the filters of the mind, allows us to talk about things a little easier than people would be able to talk about them before having 3 glasses of mead. Now, we do this in front of a live audience. Hey, everybody. We got a small audience tonight, but it's still going to be a great one.
Man, I think this time change is whooping everybody.
Dude,
everybody thinks it's time for bed.
Yes.
tell you what,
Might be.
Yeah.
might be time for bed.
Yeah.
Regardless, we got a good friend Logan up here, who is a defense attorney, right?
I am a criminal defense attorney, and I have changed jobs
Oh,
since the last Mead Talk.
Knit.
Yeah.
Still an attorney. I still do criminal defense, but I also do personal injury cases now.
So last time, I don't know what we talked about because I went to go look at the last video and couldn't find it. And I believe we had an issue where we forgot to press the record buttons.
I think so, yeah.
I think we recorded the audio, but I think it's saved in here and I haven't been able to retrieve it yet. So I'll get to that eventually. It'll be interesting to see this one versus that one.
With a year more of experience.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. Has it been that long?
It's been about a year, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was January 14th. That's when we did
I
it.
just knew it was duck season.
Yeah.
Because I hunted that morning, and then I drove here from Mississippi. So that's all I knew.
I had it on the calendar and the schedule for January 14th, and I was like, we kept looking, and we could not find anything with that date on it.
We had the one before, and
Yeah.
we had the one after.
Yeah.
When you recorded them, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not the only one that's happened to. Apparently last week we had some audio issues and we did a whole video. It was really great. It's about raising men,
Okay.
raising men, but also about what, men. Just
What
men
is
in
it?
general.
What is a man?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we went over that. It was really good. Very hard to hear because the audio is jacked up on it. So I'm going to have to get in there, try to fix that here soon. So you're not the only one.
It happens.
We had an EMT on too, and I believe
Yes.
that we forgot to record the audio for that.
Yeah.
But since then, we've updated our system since you were here.
Does it have anything to do with the mead?
No,
Oh, okay.
not at all.
Most of the time.
I think it just has to do with just trying to get everything set up in a timely manner and not, just skipping steps.
Yeah.
So as we do it, we get a little bit better, I think. This has never happened with the audio like it did last week. Normally, it's all queued in and everything, and I don't have to change anything. I just start it up. And it's been that way since we got this new program.
Yeah.
So that was weird. So now I've got a new thing to check every time. So, but anyways, defense attorney. Now, you've had some happenings over here with Robert.
Not with Robert.
No,
No.
not
Rob's
with
been
me.
fine.
Yeah.
He's behaved.
Okay.
Yeah. It was with the 17-year-old
There.
with Nathan.
But yeah,
It all worked out.
that's good. That's good news.
The whole attorney-client privilege thing it's a
Yeah.
thing.
Since I'm not an attorney, it was BS. It was
It was.
it was Pelham being very corrupt, and I can say that because I don't live there, and even if I did, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just
Was it Pelham or was it Alabaster?
it was Pelham.
It was fun. But the cops.
I have no bad
probably
words
done
for
the same
Alabaster, so
Not yet.
not yet.
I did meet a
Yeah.
short, stocky, bald guy the other night. That was a little jerk, but you might know who I'm talking about.
The
You might
headbang tells us what we need to know.
So
thing. What did you do?
I didn't have my tag on my trailer, but I had it in my hand. There was nowhere to mount it on my trailer, right? So it's just like, well, I'll just carry it, and
Right.
But I never had any trouble before. I've had it for, I don't know, 6 months or whatever. And so, but he pulled me over and I was like, is that what you need? He's like, yeah, that's what I'm looking for. I was like, all right, cool. And then he was just kind of being an asshole to me. So I was like, well, Ivy League Brew, right? And he just like kind of stared at me like I was dumb. I was like, like right down the street from you. I was like, I'm one of the owners, and we have a royalty club, and Calera PD is up on the royalty club. And he was looking at me like I was a freaking idiot. And I was like, all right, well, and he's like, what is this? Why are you telling me this? I said, well, Calera said that you guys fucking suck. And so I was like, all right, cool. You're going to be a jackass. I'll just be a jackass back.
You got a ticket then.
No.
Oh, wow. Okay. Good
I
for
did
you.
not. I
Good
didn't
for
do
you.
anything wrong. I just, besides displaying my tag, but I had it. I just didn't display it, But yeah, so I was just like, yeah, so they said you guys suck and they're going to beat you on the royalty club. And I just thought I'd let you know.
So, does every police officer that drinks from Calera get to count towards the royalty
Yes.
club for that?
Yeah.
But Alabaster doesn't even have one?
They don't even have one up there. Yeah. I don't know what the deal is.
I'm looking at an Alabaster cop in the room.
I don't
not
know what
just
the deal
camera.
is.
Yeah.
But they said, that their words, not mine.
Oh, okay.
Just throwing it out there.
And funny enough, that occurred the night that we had midget wrestling.
It was that night, wasn't it?
was.
They came back in after the midget wrestling, and that's when they signed up.
No, they signed. Yes, it was that night.
That's
after it was over. They came in and signed up.
Yeah, pretty wild. That was a wild night.
So do y'all do corporate accounts now? Is that what that sounds like? Or?
We can do that for first responders and stuff. We'll do
Okay,
that.
okay.
yeah,
I think it's fair.
Not law firms.
we give a discount.
We can do that for law firms.
Okay.
Yeah, we would love to see a battle between police officers and law firms, especially
Ooh.
defense attorneys. That would be great.
That would be awesome.
It
You
would
got a
probably
judge
be-
in here?
All right.
There's only 3 attorneys at my office, so that would be hard.
No.
Yeah. I don't know how much do y'all drink?
You'd be surprised.
I guess that's true.
Yeah. You can give them out to clients, especially the ones that drink a lot.
Oh, the bottles. Give the bottles out to clients. I thought you meant just like access.
No.
Okay. You're going to have all kinds of people coming in here saying,
Yeah.
I'm drinking on the Burton Law Firm.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. We'll make sure to add your card to it, too. So defense attorney. So explain to me what the difference is, and we're going to go back to the beginning because we don't have the first video. This really sucks because I wanted to get a little further, but explain to me the difference between a defense attorney and a lawyer.
Okay. So a lawyer is a broad encompass of... So there's a difference in a lawyer and an attorney. A lawyer is someone that's studied in the law. An attorney is someone that's passed the bar exam.
Okay.
So you can be a lawyer for finishing law school. You can be an attorney for passing Alabama State Bar.
Okay.
And then there's different jobs, obviously, as an attorney. There's so many different things you can do with that degree. You can work in-house for a company. Y'all could hire an attorney to work here just to do risk management. But a criminal defense attorney obviously defends criminals in court, whereas a prosecutor works for the state or the city or the federal government, and they prosecute people for what they've allegedly committed.
Which is what a defense attorney goes against.
Correct. Yeah. So the prosecutor's on one side of it, the defense attorney's on the other side.
Right.
So you say criminal defense attorney. Are they already proven a criminal?
No, but
Okay, so are you really a criminal defense attorney, or are you an innocent defense attorney until proven criminal?
you're an alleged criminal
Yeah.
until you are proven guilty.
Isn't that some shit, huh?
But you can be a defense attorney and not do criminal law. Also, you can do insurance defense, corporate defense, all kinds of different. There's two
Real
sides
estate.
of everything. There's always two sides to the story.
Yeah.
So what do you specialize in?
Right now, I'm doing personal injury plaintiffs work.
Okay.
So,
Are you
car
with-
wreck cases,
with
anyone that gets hurt.
Alexander Schnorr?
I'm not with Alexander Schnorr. No, I am not.
All right.
Who are you with?
It's called the Burton Law Firm. We're a small boutique personal injury law firm. They've done some criminal defense in the past. Roger Burton started the firm 48 years ago.
Wow.
So he's done a little bit of everything. One of his sons has kind of spearheaded the personal injury side of things. They're letting me do criminal defense and personal injury, so I'm doing a little bit of both. Personal injury is new for me. I'm really enjoying it. It's different. It's very different.
Yeah.
But
Well, you
it's
don't
fun.
have to deal with criminals.
I like dealing with criminals.
Really?
Alleged criminals.
Yeah. Or
And then
innocent
sometimes
people.
criminals. Not
Yeah.
everyone's innocent. It happens. But
exactly.
everyone deserves a defense.
I like
So
to think that everybody is innocent.
it always?
Yeah.
Oh, well, okay. As long as they got their tag in their truck ready to show it, I guess they are.
That's true. Now, I think before when we had talked, I was going through the 3M earplug thing. I think we talked about that.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit. I don't know a ton about that. That's mass torts.
It was insane. But I actually got some money out of it, which was really cool.
Do you want to disclose how much money you got out of it?
It doesn't really matter. They told me I was going to get a lot more, and then it came back like less than half of that.
That normally happens.
Yeah.
How many zeros?
It was in the thousands.
Okay, well, that's good. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not bad.
So it's like
Sometimes on the-
7,500, 8,000.
Sometimes on those mass torts cases, the actual people that are hurt get like $50.
Well,
and then the
this was-
attorneys make millions.
But
So-
this was different. Like this
Yeah.
wasn't class action, right?
okay.
So it was every case was individual.
So did they not certify the class? Do you?
No.
Okay. I
So-
remember it being a thing and them advertising for people to turn it in if you've been
Yeah.
a victim of this, but I didn't know if it was certified or not.
No.
And-
So it was every single person. It was an individual case that was taken to the court. That's
So-
why it took so long.
And to clarify what I'm saying, for mass torts or for class action lawsuits, it's the same thing. To be able to consider it a class action lawsuit, you have to have such a similar act that causes your injury and get certified by a judge. So you have to apply for it. The judge has to say, all these people are similar in kind, and then it is turned into a class action lawsuit. So I'm guessing it wasn't certified.
No.
Yeah.
So how this went about was they did basically they took a number of cases over a few different years and they tried the cases as each individual case.
Right.
And then what they did was they took all those test cases and they applied that knowledge to the rest of them and said, okay, this is what we're determining what your losses are based off if you have similar information, but they were all different. And they put it into different categories and different, everything so that it was easier to deal with the thousands of people
Yeah,
that were in
right.
it, right? But it was still all individual, and you could deny or accept, what your payment would be or whatever, and you could actually go to court and try it yourself
If
if
you
you
denied
wanted
it,
to, But I was like, screw it. I mean, I'm never gonna get a chance to.
Yeah. I mean,
But-
sometimes it's a lot better. I mean, the attorney's fees alone.
Yeah, I did not realize how much the attorney fees were going to be, but yeah, it was pretty significant. But it was like 6 years of going through that, you
Right.
know. And my buddy actually went to court for one of them, for one of the test cases, and he was up against the jury. If they would have found, his entire situation,
If they would have found 3M liable,
yeah,
for his injuries.
then he would have got like $2 million.
Yeah.
But they denied him. And he's like, I don't understand why they denied me. The guy that won over $2 million didn't have near the injury that I had.
Was he in Alabama?
Yeah. No. Yeah,
But it
yeah,
was
he was in
federal.
Mobile.
Was it federal or was it?
It was federal, yeah. So
Okay.
he actually went to court in Florida.
Okay.
So
Because in Alabama, we have contributory negligence here, which really hurts people in a lot of car wreck cases. Because if they determine you're 1% at fault and you go to trial on it, you're not going to get paid.
Wow.
So if they pull your phone records while you're driving down the road and you were on your phone, but somebody else that was a drunk driver hit you going 100 miles an hour from behind, you could still be considered somewhat at fault for being on your phone.
wow.
So don't text and drive.
Wow.
What if you're using voice to text?
I mean, that's legal, so I don't know.
I guess you
then
have
the
to
problem
prove
is how do
that.
you prove it? How do you
Right.
prove that's what you were using? And it goes both ways, so it's whoever the jury believes.
Yeah.
So, and then that really comes down to who you hire to represent you.
Yeah.
Because it's who can tell the story the best way.
Because my truck, like if I'm driving down the road and I get a text, I just hit a button and it'll read it to me, and then I hit another button if I want to reply, and I'll reply and it'll send it.
Yeah, like I can say, hey, Siri, text Rob.
Right.
And say, hey, I forgot
Exactly.
we were doing Mead night tonight like 2
Right.
weeks ago.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it
Yeah.
happens.
Did happen, didn't
That
it?
did happen. That did happen. 100% that did happen.
I was like, wait a minute, this sounds legitimate.
I didn't get that text, but yeah, that was a legit statement.
Yeah.
That's why he said I could have. He didn't say I did.
Could have.
So what are some cases that you've dealt with in the past? You don't have to name specifics and stuff like that, but
The coolest one that I talk about, and it's not cool by any means, but it's the only murder case I've worked on, and it was really sad. It wasn't a cool case. I mean, different cases, and also we get very jaded in our profession because we see a lot of stuff. So
Right.
it was a murder trial. It wasn't a trial. It was a murder case. He was accused of murdering his wife, and not to justify. There's no justification for that, obviously. They both had dementia. So it was a murder-suicide is what it was going to be, and the suicide was unsuccessful. So it was very interesting to work on just because a capital murder case in the criminal defense world is the highest level of case you can work.
Right.
It was very sad because it was an older gentleman who, I mean, in some countries it's legal to not kill somebody, but assisted suicide is legal. I mean, in some states it used to be legal.
Right.
So that's how he saw it in his degraded mental state, and hers being so far gone. He had been taking care of her for 5 years, I believe, before that point. And then his onset dementia started.
Yeah.
So it was the only solution he saw in his state of mind. And sadly, he passed away while he was in jail. So,
Man. See, that's a
Wow.
fine line to walk right there when
Right.
it comes to.
and that's the kind of situation. It's one of the reasons I'm doing something different. Not necessarily that case, but when you do criminal defense, there is a belief that everyone deserves a defense, and I strongly support that. It doesn't matter whether you committed the crime or not. You need to understand what you're going through.
Right.
So if you are involved in a murder case, you need to know what's going on because your life's on the line. I mean, whatever you're agreeing to, I mean, if especially if it's a capital murder case, and capital murder means the death penalty is on the line.
Yeah.
So that type of situation, you deserve somebody to tell you what's going on. But now I can kind of pick and choose a little bit more. Before, when you only do criminal defense, you take every criminal defense case that you believe they have a case and you want to work with that person as a private attorney. Now, there's public defenders that are great attorneys. I've always been a strong supporter of public defenders. I tell people all the time, look, if you can't afford my fee, I understand. Talk to public defender's office. They have amazing attorneys there. And the only problem with public defenders, and not with them, it's just their caseload. They're so overworked and underpaid for what they do.
Yeah.
And that's why some people, and not everyone qualifies for a public defender. Just because you have a right to an attorney doesn't mean you have a right to one to be paid for you.
Right.
See, I wish I knew you when I had my case, when, the Shelby County Drug Task Force tried to throw me in prison.
Did they try, or did they throw you in jail and then didn't get you to prison?
Well, I went to Shelby County, and but I got bond and got out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean they came and like broke a bunch of my stuff and held me at gunpoint, and they told me that if I didn't deal heroin for them, then I was going to jail for a really long time.
And that's so common, and it's so dangerous.
Oh yeah.
Like,
I was like, yeah, you guys are fucking crazy. I'm not doing that.
And to be fair, and I don't know, every situation is different. Normally they don't ask you to deal heroin, they ask you to buy it. Now, I don't know what they did for you.
Either way, I wasn't gonna do it.
Right.
Like I wasn't a drug dealer. I didn't do anything wrong. So I was like, yeah, you guys are freaking nuts. And they're like, well, if you know anybody, and they said, when we give you a call, you better answer, and we're gonna have you do your job for us. And I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna answer your fucking call because you're retarded. And so, and then I called the sheriff's office, and I said, at what point do I need to take up my Second Amendment and defend myself? And he was like, whoa, now, don't go crazy. And I said, no, this is fucking bullshit. You guys threatened my life at gunpoint. You held me for ransom. I said, what am I supposed to do? Like, it's a violation of the RICO Act and everything else. Like, what the hell? Like, this is stupid as hell.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I would consider bond ransom. I think that's a little bit of a stretch.
Oh, dude, they held me for ransom because I had to give them money to get out of jail.
When there's unfounded charges, yes, I understand what you're saying. The problem is, and this is the problem with our criminal justice system, is the probable cause standard. And to arrest someone, it's not beyond a reasonable doubt. But to prove beyond a reasonable doubt is so hard that a jury has to determine it. So it's a very high standard, which is great for you and I if we're charged with a crime.
Yeah.
Because we want that high standard of justice to be able to say, all right, yes, this person needs to spend some time in prison, or this person's innocent.
Yeah.
They don't have proof that they actually did this. So the difference is probable cause, and that's what gives them the right to investigate. So, and that's where they're coming from in the bond. Like, okay, we'll pay this while we finish proving, because we haven't proved it yet.
But I never got any of that money back.
Shelby County didn't give you your money back?
No.
Was the case dropped?
Yeah,
Yes.
completely. Without prejudice, or with prejudice.
Who was your attorney? I mean, don't drop their names on here.
I will. I don't know if he's alive anymore, but he didn't do shit for me. I remember one time I was at Shelby County, and I just got there, and he was like up the stairs right next to the DA's office, and I walked by and I heard him telling the other guy that he had just got a case and he was going to make like $70,000 off of it. And they were like, yeah, it makes you forget about the little guys, huh? And they were like laughing about it. I'm like, fuck you, dude. I'm the little guy over here. Like, I paid you $5,000 to do this job, and you're like over here not worried about me. So it took 3 years and $13,000 for me to get out of that.
Your bond is essentially supposed to be held in an account by the whichever entity you paid it to. My
bondsman, I think, died.
Oh, so if you used a bondsman, you don't get any of the money back. So how a bondsman works is, and a lot of people, this is difficult for people, because if you post your bond, you get out. And if you show up for your court hearing, if you show up for all your court hearings, once your case is finished, you get your bond back. But if you use a bondsman, they charge you 10% of whatever your bond is, and you never see that money again. And the problem is, and this is what I tell most of my clients, most of the time
they get it back.
The bondsman, yes, gets back whatever money they put up for you. You pay them 10% of whatever the money is, and the fee is that they're putting up the money on your behalf, because they lose that money if you don't show up.
I didn't have that damn money in my account.
Well, that's why you didn't get it back.
Yeah.
And then,
but it's such bullshit because I didn't do anything wrong.
It is.
How's that fair?
As a criminal defense attorney, I completely agree.
I think he understands, as a criminal defense attorney, most of the laws are set up against civilians.
Oh, yeah. So there's this thing called sovereign immunity where you can't sue the state.
Yes.
So
there's judicial immunity. There's qualified immunity.
I was going to go after them, but they made me sign something at the very end.
They make you sign a release of claims against you for them to dismiss your case.
And I've heard a lot of stories.
You could beat that. I think you could beat that. I haven't tried. Obviously, I haven't tried. But So it's just a contract is all it is.
Yeah.
It goes back to contract law. And any contract that you're forced to sign to have the outcome should not be enforced. Now, you got a benefit in the fact that your charges were being dismissed, and that's the argument they would make. But an argument a good defense attorney would try to make, and it has
They
not
would have been
worked,
dismissed anyways.
is that they should have been dismissed anyways. Now, obviously, that case hasn't been brought, and in any Alabama court, it wouldn't hold any
We need
weight.
to bring it.
How long ago was this?
It was, I finally got out of it in like 2019, 2018.
Yeah, you have to file a claim against the city or the state within 6 months. So,
Da-na-na. The more
so
you
much
know.
for that. We could have made a lot of money.
This is why we have Mead Talks, to learn stuff like this.
This is why I said I wish I knew you.
And that is one of the reasons. I mean, I'm not doing those types of cases. We try not to sue the police department. We try not to sue the state, just because sovereign immunity is so hard to beat. But right now, I have a case against the school board, and I have a case against the state of Mississippi. So we are doing them.
Yeah.
It's just kind of it's on a case by case basis. Obviously,
The problem and the biggest downfall of that is, you know, when you sue the city or the state, it's the taxpayers that are paying that in the long run.
they're paying the fee that if I win.
Yes,
And
they're paying.
So they're paying that, and then they're also paying for the jury. They're paying for the
Right.
prosecutors. The whole judicial process is expensive.
So I wonder, you know, and this has always been a thought in my head, how do I get a fair and impartial trial when the judge is being paid, the police department's being paid, who are the ones that are, you know, obviously bringing the charges, from the same person?
You hire a good defense attorney.
But how is that fair and impartial?
No. So the way that it's justified, and I say that because
I don't think it's justified.
I say that, and these are my personal opinions.
Yeah,
also,
yeah.
but the way that I see that as being justified is the fact that the judge is elected. So it's not his pay isn't based on what the state does. So his pay isn't based on if the state likes his ruling on your case. It's based on if the voters like his ruling on your case.
It went off.
Camera is down.
Oh, for fuck's sake, man!
It's not my fault.
It should be. Hold on. Yep.
I was going to go into.
Anyways, what were you going to say?
So, I think a lot of judges forget that they are elected. And one thing that really grinds my gears is when I walk into a courtroom and the judge acts like it's his courtroom. That courtroom is for the people, by the people, period. That's why he's an elected official.
You're not wrong.
I'm not saying go in there and act a fool,
Right.
but I've had two judges, one in Hoover, one in Calera, that absolutely crawled under my skin. And unfortunately, there is a contempt of court, or I would have said a lot more than what I said to the judges.
I feel like that's a rite of passage for an attorney.
Yeah.
I haven't been thrown in jail yet for contempt, but I
Yeah.
feel like it'll happen eventually.
I mean, if I get in another situation like I was in, I probably will be thrown in court because I'm like, the way that they act holier than thou, as if it's their God-given right to be sitting up there and they're not elected, drives me absolutely nuts.
I had a friend. I went to court once over his driver's license.
A friend.
Well, it's legitimate friend. He went to court 11 times over a driver's license, won every single case. One of them, he told the judge that the only way that he was going to pay him money is if he got in his pretty little black dress, came down to his house, and washed his truck for him. And I was like, that's awesome. I'm going to use that. And
he won the case?
he won the case because this was in the state of Washington. He went to Washington, D.C., and he took the Constitution that was written for Washington State from Washington, D.C. in the records. He took it, copied it, and entered it as evidence into the court and found that Washington, D.C. had changed their Constitution unlawfully, apparently, and use that against them. And it was really good. Like he was really good at what he did, but he represented himself.
Yeah.
And he had a who did lawyers had the
Paralegals?
Yeah, he had a paralegal
okay.
write everything up for him. And
Okay.
it was pretty wild.
I'll give this to paralegals. I mean, sometimes they're smarter than the attorneys.
They're really
a lot
good.
of the times they know their stuff. Most paralegals do. So
Yeah,
I will give them that.
They know how to write things up at least,
Absolutely.
And the process in which you have to go through the clergy or whatever and turn everything in and stuff, and which is I never knew that before. Like most people don't know that. Like you can't even bring stuff up if it's not entered into the evidence.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there are rules of evidence. I mean, it's entered into what you're allowed to do. There's state rules and federal rules and everything else. You have to know how to enter things, whether they're admissible. You see it in these Netflix documentaries where they show trials and everything else, where people represent themselves pro se and they don't know how to do that side of things. And honestly, I've done trials against pro se defendants. Trying to remember back, they were civil trials, so they were plaintiff's work. It was when I first started as an attorney, and it was a pro se defendant, which means they're not an attorney; they're representing themselves, is what pro se means. And honestly, I would have rather them to have had an attorney, just because it made it last twice as long, because they didn't know how to enter evidence and they didn't know what the rules were and what they could admit. And it comes to a point of where you feel like you're bullying somebody.
Yeah.
But also you do your client a disservice if you allow them to enter things into evidence that they haven't done properly or they shouldn't be allowed to do. And the judges actually look at that negatively against the attorneys if you're objecting too much against a pro se defendant, because they think you're taking advantage of the defendant. So it's, what do? Do you make the judge mad, who thinks they're holier than thou, or do you represent your client to the best of your ability? It's a very thin line.
Me personally, I would represent the client that's paying me to the best of my ability.
And that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
But you also have to balance it, because knowing the judges, the more you do this, the longer you do this, the better you're going to be, because you know what the judges are going to do.
Right.
So, and you know how the judges think.
And that's why when you get a lawyer, you're like, oh, we've got Judge so-and-so, and I got that. That's
I'll go talk to
Right,
Judge JA.
exactly.
We won't even have court.
Exactly.
I mean, that happens, especially in criminal cases. Because, I mean, in a civil case, if you're a defendant, it depends on the plaintiff.
Right.
But if you're in a civil case, it depends on the state, and it also depends on the judge. So you can go to the prosecutor and say, hey, I've already talked to the judge. They're good with this, or you good with it, and it be done.
Right.
So what level of court do you normally represent, or do you go along with the different circuits and everything, or?
I've done well.
And explain what that is, because a lot of people don't know.
So you start criminal. It's different depending on what you're doing. So in criminal stuff, you start at the municipality, which is the city. So right next to y'all's bar is the city of Alabaster Court. I've done appointed work there, which is like a public defender, but the city cuts me a check, but I don't work for them. It's contractor work. So I've done stuff at that level. I've worked in federal court in the 11th district. Or in the 11th Circuit, Northern District of Alabama, 11th Circuit. And then up from there is if you have appeals. So if we didn't like a ruling in one of our cases in federal court, we could have appealed it. One of the cases I worked on with a trial, they did appeal it, but I changed jobs before that continued. And then that's how you work your way up to the Supreme Court. Now you have state Supreme Court and federal Supreme Court. And they have to choose whether to hear your case. You can appeal your case and then give you to go ahead and have another trial based on your grounds if they agree with you. And then if you have another issue, then you can get up to the Supreme Court level. It's hard to get cases into the Supreme Court.
So, federal Supreme Court, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the highest form of court we have.
Correct.
How is it that certain parties or individuals can ignore the ruling of the federal Supreme Court, and why aren't there consequences? And you probably have an idea of what I'm referring to.
Don't necessarily. details would help. But might not want to go into that. I understand.
I can mention a few names. Biden, Harris.
The parties that be have influence. They don't get a say, obviously. They get a say who is on there. And right now, there is more for or against certain parties.
But if the Supreme Court rules a certain way and they go against the ruling, should there not be consequence? That is breaking the law, correct?
And it should be the DOJ that takes that up, right?
Takes that up.
Okay, so y'all are. Let's just get into the hard stuff.
Yeah.
The problem with the DOJ is who pays the DOJ. It goes all the way back to
fair and impartial.
The judge
That's what I was saying.
But the question is, who's going to pay for a private person to prosecute this? Who is going to fund a department that goes against the federal government unless the taxpayers come together, create their own government to pay for this, and then do that. Now, states can sue the federal government for not following things. And that is the check and balance. The states are supposed to be the check and balance. Now, whether it happens also has to do with people who pay a bunch of money for people to influence things to happen.
That right there to me is the perfect example of how the judicial system is extremely flawed. You have money, you get away with it. You don't, you pay the price.
Oh, and we talked about this last time.
We did.
The criminal justice system, the judicial system, all of it's flawed in the sense of money because. So my first case that I worked pro bono. So I've done a ton of work for free. Mm-hmm. Like I said earlier, I'm a big supporter of the fact that everyone deserves a defense, whether you can afford it or not.
Required to do pro bono, like a certain?
No, not in the state of Alabama. You can turn it in. Like when I apply for my license every year, they ask how much pro bono work have you done. Don't know what that goes to. Have no idea why they're asking. I think it's just like a stat they're trying to keep. But a lot of most of the pro bono stuff I do. I mean. Sometimes it's because somebody calls and they can't afford an attorney. Sometimes it's a former client that needs help and they don't have any money. And then sometimes it's somebody you've met before and they're like, hey, I can't afford an attorney and this has happened. And you're like, that's wrong. I'm gonna do anything I can to help you.
Right.
But it's just kind of one of those things like what I was getting to. My first case that I did pro bono, I walked into the courtroom. I was a very young attorney. I mean, I had passed the bar a couple months before, and my client was my paralegal's daughter, who had no money, needed help, and obviously I wouldn't have charged my paralegal anyways, but just the whole circumstance was this girl had done something wrong. She had messed up. She knew it. She had admitted it, and she had changed her life. She had gone to rehab. She had completely turned her life around, and these charges were still pending because charges can last years, especially COVID. COVID messed up the whole judicial system so bad because it just delayed everything.
Right.
Your right to a speedy trial. People are winning those types of claims now from cases that were going on before, which used to be unheard of. You would never win a claim of being denied a right to a speedy trial because it always got done.
Mine wasn't done.
Well, your attorney.
3 years.
Apparently, you didn't pay your attorney enough from what you've told me. But
apparently, you didn't hire Logan.
Apparently not.
I think I was in high school when that happened. But
still would have done a better job.
Maybe. I walked into the back, and all courtrooms work differently, and you learn how they work and where to go and all kinds of stuff. And I walked in the courtroom, someone was like, "Hey, if you're an attorney, go in the back." So I went in the back, and another defense attorney was in there who's actually running for a judge seat right now. But obviously, I'm not going to say who it is. He's a great attorney. He would also be a really good judge. If I was in that district, I would vote for him. But
I was about to ask, so would you vote for him? Or
I would. Yeah, great attorney. The advice, not great. And it was a unanimous advice by some of the attorneys in there. Most of them were public defenders, but it was like plead them all guilty. And that was the thought. And this is the problem. It's the caseload. It's work out a deal and get it pled.
Right.
And sometimes that's necessary. I mean, sometimes, especially when your client's already admitted to doing something that really hurts your case. But I just kind of thought about it, and it really hurt me. Like, especially because I knew the client. I had like a personal interest. It wasn't like a severe personal interest that would conflict with anything, but it was more of a, hey, look, plead them all guilty and get your money, get out of it. And it just didn't feel right. And that is kind of the mentality for some attorneys. I mean, especially people that do a ton of appointed work, you don't get paid until you're done.
Yeah.
So, like, it's not like the state's going to pay you to take the case on. They say, we'll keep track of your hours. We'll pay you $70 an hour at the end of it. Yeah. And that's $70 an hour is a very good wage, but that's not a constant wage in appointed work.
Yeah. I feel like this is a similar concept as to, you get desensitized to situations because you have to deal with them so often, right? So a very seasoned lawyer, seasoned attorney is desensitized to the situation.
Correct.
And to the human, aspect of it, right? And I think that happens in a lot of professions. I think it happens.
Honestly, it happens a lot with police officers.
And firefighters.
Yes.
Police officers, firefighters, doctors,
EMTs.
and EMTs,
Mm-hmm.
military, anybody who's been in combat, stuff like that. They get desensitized to a lot of things. But I don't feel like that's the right way to do things.
I think it helps and it hurts you.
I do, yeah. So, yes. I agree.
When you're dealing with tough cases.
You have to have a disconnect.
Cases that involve children, cases that
yeah.
involve victims that are extreme. You have to be able to turn it off and go home to your family.
Right.
Which is hard.
Not just that, but you have to be able to have good judgment in situations. You have to be able to remain calm.
And when you're on the defense side, you have to not judge your client for what they're charged with. And you have to be able to go and sit down in a room with a person that's charged with this, whether they did it or not, and have a full-on conversation with them, talk with them in private.
And not be completely disgusted.
Correct. Or scared.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're pulled out of the courtroom, this happened to me last week, and someone tells you about how someone pulled a gun on them that morning and they were ready to kill them, and I was going to have to represent them for murder the next week, and you don't actually know if they're being serious or not. Like, if you looked at me and said, I'm going to kill my bartender because she didn't bring me a drink, I'm like, oh, you're kidding, I think. And but like in that situation, based on what they were charged with, their criminal history, you're in a room, public room, where you don't know what could happen. There's no guards. You're not in a jail cell where someone can help you. And that's something you have to think about. Like, you have to be on guard at all times in those situations too. And you get so desensitized to it. You talk to so many different people. I mean, it's a good thing in the sense that you don't judge people. Like, the amount of judgment I have towards somebody for something they've done now, oh my gosh. I mean, we'll sit down in a meeting with a new client and be like, look, this isn't the worst thing I'm going to hear today, and it's definitely not the worst thing I've heard this week. Just go ahead and tell me what happened. And they tell us everything. I need to know everything. The myth of, and it's not necessarily a myth, because if you're going to want to put a client on the stand, you can't ask them to testify to something you know is not true. So some attorneys take the approach of they don't want to know. Other attorneys take the approach, in my opinion, good attorneys take the approach of they want to know everything. They don't want you to perjure yourself on the stand. They want to take that.
Yeah, because if there's something that comes up and you didn't know about it, how are you going to defend them against it?
Right. The best defense comes from knowing every detail.
You know how mad I am when someone gets on the stand and I learn something new that they didn't tell me about, and it just throws their whole case.
Yeah.
And it throws an attorney too, because your whole game plan. I mean, I don't write out testimony. I don't write out what I want to ask people. It's bullet points. I know what I need to get out of the witness, and I know what I need to get out of someone else's witness. Like, if I know the facts, which you need to know before you go into court, you know where you're trying to go with it. Some people do better if they have notes and what they want to say and scripted. I don't, because I get distracted if I miss something. So you just have to know yourself. And when a curveball gets thrown your way like that, it can mess up your whole list of bullet points.
It's easy to talk about stuff that you know about.
Yeah.
Like if people, I talk to people all the time that they say, well, I can't do sales. And I'm like, okay, well, you have a husband or you have a wife, and they're like, well, yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, you sold yourself pretty well to that person. So what do you mean you can't do sales?
Did you say you sold yourself free will?
No, you sold yourself pretty good to that person.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like you were able to sell yourself or who you were to that person because you know yourself.
Well, I was gonna say my
Right.
wife bought me for $100. She wanted a refund.
But still, and yeah, you can sell anything that you know.
Yeah.
As long as you know about it, you can talk about it and you can sell it. And especially if you think it's beneficial or whatever. But regardless, if you know the facts, you know how to present it.
Yeah, I mean, they taught us in law school the most prepared attorney is normally the one that wins. Even if you have terrible facts, if you know the facts and you know what's going on, and the other attorney that walks in the room looked at it that morning, you've got a lot bigger advantage.
Yeah.
So, because, you never want to present something to a court that's not accurate.
Right.
But as a defense attorney, you're not going to present something to the court that the other side didn't present unless you have to. It's just part of it. So if they don't want to bring charges, or if they don't want to bring something up, I'm not going to offer it. So.
Yep.
So how is it fair and impartial? I want to get back to that.
Like I said earlier, my stance is that having elections helps with it being fair and impartial. You pay not being based on the fact on your rulings is fair and impartial. Whereas as a prosecutor, your pay's bonus. Not necessarily bonuses. I don't really know how their pay structure works and their bonuses, but definitely getting promoted is based off of winning cases.
Oh yeah.
And that leads to
what, DA level or
district attorneys and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And I've never worked there, so I can't necessarily speak to exactly how it works, but you would assume if you're winning cases, you're going to be put on higher profile cases. You're going to have a better chance of getting promoted and having raises.
But you're winning cases that those cases may or may not be legit.
Well, if you're winning trials, the jury determines.
Yeah.
So now,
This is another question I have though, because it's supposed to be based off your peers, right?
correct.
And so what determines what a peer is? Because the people that stood in front of me, I don't know who the fuck they were.
But you were given challenges. Your attorney had.
Okay.
Did you have a trial?
I didn't go that far.
Okay. So
So-
exactly. So you never were in front of a jury.
No.
So when you go to your jury selection, there's X amount of people in the room, and they work it down to
Yeah.
12. So
I've seen it in front of me. I never got there.
you're able to look at who's going to be on your jury and say, I don't want this person. I don't want that person. And then kick them off. But you're also able to look at who's going to replace them. So it's an equation. It's who is this person? How are they going to rule? How are they going to hear our story?
I would like my friends and family to be on that.
Yeah, they're not going to get on there.
But they're my peers.
Well, yeah, but the other side's going to strike them.
But that's why, like, you like firearms and stuff like that. You ask somebody, hey, what kind of rifle you got? Oh, man, I want him.
So you can strike people for different reasons. You can get struck for cause. If the other side has cause to strike them, a conflict or knowing the person is cause. So they're going to ask at the very beginning, they're going to say your name. You're going to be in the room. You're sitting at the table with your defense attorney. Hey, does anyone know this person with this name? And he's sitting right here. Anyone raises their hand, they're going to get struck for cause because they're not impartial. It's impartial peers. It's peers. It's people from your community.
Yeah.
But it's not people that know you and know your case. Even people that have studied your case are going to get struck for cause because you have outside knowledge of the events.
Right.
So, that's why they sequester juries. They put them in hotel rooms on high-profile cases to where they don't know what's happening.
So here's a question then. Like, for example, being an owner of a place like this, a lot of the community comes in here. We meet the community. We know a lot of the community. If we were to, for some reason, get to a situation where we had to go to trial,
right.
and a majority of the jury that kept popping up knew us because of this place, would they have to change where we have the trial?
So you could ask for a new venue. You could try to transfer this to somewhere. If you were so influential in the community that everyone that they picked could not be unbiased in their decision and look at the law. And that's the thing, is you qualify a juror. You can say, I say you need to be struck for cause as your defense attorney. The prosecutor says, no, judge, we think that this person can make an unbiased opinion. You go in the back room. The judge will ask them a bunch of questions to determine if the judge thinks that they can be on the jury and not be biased towards you or against you. And that works both ways.
What if the judge is biased?
Well, then you appeal.
Miss Trout, no.
Then you appeal the case.
Yeah.
So then that's what appeals are for. Now, calling a
Okay.
judge out on being biased is a big deal. So, and if it's what has to be done, you have to do it.
Yeah.
But that you have the option for appeals.
And from what I understand, police officers, they have qualified immunity. They can
Correct.
lose. They can lose that immunity under certain circumstances. Then you have judges that have judicial immunity. But from my understanding, it's almost impossible. It's possible, but it's extremely difficult for a judge to lose the judicial immunity.
Oh, yeah. Because, you have to prove that the judge did it intentionally, and it's hard to prove that.
Yeah.
It's hard to say what someone knows. It's hard to prove that you knew what I ate
There
for
was
breakfast this
intent.
morning.
Yeah.
How do I prove what you know?
Right.
You don't know what I did today except for what I've told you.
Right.
But it's hard to prove what's in your mind.
Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of people that don't like that, the qualified immunity and the judicial immunity. I'll take a water.
I'll take a water. Yeah, water would be nice.
And like a lot of people don't think that they should have it.
Right.
I'm on the other side. I think it's good. I think it's good for them to have a certain amount of immunity, especially police officers. They see a lot of shit.
Yeah.
They deal with a lot of shit. Shit happens. The immunity is there to protect them, to protect the city.
I agree with that to an extent.
But that's what I was getting at. There are certain
This might be messing me up.
there's certain situations or certain hurdles that I think have to be overcome, that shouldn't have to be overcome in order for that immunity to be lost.
I think that individually they need certain immunities.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that they have to be able to do their job.
Yes,
If you
exactly.
think that you're going to get sued and lose your house and your kids are going to end up on the street, you're not going to pull anyone over.
Mm-hmm.
That's just fair.
Right.
I would, yeah. That's why I never went into being a police officer.
Yeah.
I was told that I should because I was infantry, and I was like, no, you don't understand.
And then they wanted you so bad they tried to get you to sell heroin.
Exactly. They really tried to get me to work for them, and I don't understand why.
But the department should be held accountable for their actions. If they're working within the scope, if they are, and they can be. It's not like they can't, completely. There's just a lot of hoops that you have to jump through to be able to do it. I don't think it should be so hard for someone to, if they are done wrong, if they have actual injuries, actual damages, things that are going to affect them for the rest of their lives, they shouldn't be barred from suing the police departments over petty things like not filing a claim within 6 months.
Right. And, I've seen cases where there has been, they're guilty of an act, but they can still sue the police department because of negligence. Because the police department still has a certain responsibility to make sure you're safe.
They owe them a duty of safety. Yes, absolutely.
I was driving through the west of Texas one day.
I don't know about Texas laws. Let me just go ahead and clarify.
Well, yeah. But I had a police officer pulled up next to me. He looked at me, and I had a beard, and I didn't look like I was an uptight citizen. I guess I don't know,
You think you did not look like an uptight citizen?
Yeah.
With a beard in Texas?
Yeah.
I think that's a qualification.
So, well, this was back in 2011, 2012. And pulls up, looks at me, basically profiles me, slows down, pulls behind me, pulls me over. And I was right next to an exit, okay? And I had to pee so bad. I was trying to get to this exit so I could pee. And I pull over, and the gas station's right off the exit. So I was like, okay, I'll just pull in the exit, and then, we'll just do this there. But so I opened up my door, and I got out, and I walked up to him. I said, I really have to pee. Can I go to the bathroom? You can follow me in there, whatever. He takes my arm, curls it up behind me, slams me into my truck, and I turned around and I said, "Get the fuck off me. I will fuck you up." Like, I got really pissed off. And, he slammed me up against, his partner came around, slammed me up against the truck. And I said, "Okay, fine. I'm just going to undo my zipper and I'm going to pee on your fucking feet." And so he got really pissed off. And I was like, but my bladder was like about to explode. My kidneys were already hurting, right? And luckily, just that excitement just stopped me from having to pee, which is good. Yeah, it totally distracted me. Because otherwise, I would have pissed myself right there. Not because I was scared, but because I really had to pee.
That might have been your out. You maybe should have done
I
that.
probably, yeah. But I told him, I said, because I had shoulder issues from the Army. I was like, if you keep going, my shoulder's going to fucking dislocate. And there was people like standing around like videoing it and everything with their cameras and stuff, and because I was like screaming my head off at these police officers. And they're like, "Why the fuck didn't you pull over?" I said, "I did. It was just like, right here. I just wanted to do it conveniently."
Yeah.
And he's like, "You should have pulled over right." And I was like, "No, I wasn't going to sit there and be in the middle of fucking traffic. I pulled over to an area that was safe." And so you're like, we're searching your fucking vehicle and everything. So they went through my whole truck. They didn't find anything. They let me off.
So what was their probable cause, that you were attempting to elude?
Absolutely not. I have no idea. They just let me go. There was nothing.
I'm looking at the cop in the room, and
There's
the camera.
nothing.
I was going to say, but they have to
Camera
have.
did it again.
They have to have, an RAS. I mean, there has to be an RAS if you weren't speeding, if your tags were up to date.
I was not speeding.
Yeah.
I didn't have any tag issues. I had nothing. And they just pulled me over because they looked at. I swear, he just profiled me and was like, "This guy looks like he's on drugs."
So here's the thing: if they let you go, they never actually gave you a ticket or anything.
No, nothing.
So you would have to sue the police department.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you can't sue them for wrongful arrest. So you have to sue them for harassment.
Yeah.
And assault, because they assaulted you.
And assault. Yeah. You get to sue them for harassment and assault. The cop
Assault
in the room
is classified as
saying
being touched without.
Actually, assault is classified as the apprehension of being touched. You don't even actually have to be touched for assault.
That's true.
Battery is being touched. Now, in the
yeah.
state of Alabama, per an Alabaster police officer, we've had a lot of conversations about this. There is no charge for, there is no criminal charge for battery in the state of Alabama. This is where the police officer in the room is wrong. There is a civil claim for battery in the state of Alabama. Battery is where you're actually touched.
Yeah.
So if I go to punch you, Matt, but I never actually hit you, I've assaulted you. If I actually punch you in the face, I've battered you.
So would it be
Okay.
battering if you were to knock a phone out of somebody's hand? Or would that just be assault? Because
It's an extension of their person. I'm not sure. I'd have to look at the code.
Yeah.
We are, I mean, as attorneys, we are learning the law at all times.
Oh, yeah,
so
you're
I don't have everything
practitioners.
memorized.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, I have a lot of things memorized, but
Yeah.
there's some things you look into.
there's a
But
reason
is
y'all
the
practice
phone
law.
an extension? Now, if you snatch a phone out of someone's body, that's criminal assault.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it'd be battery. I'd have to look at it. But you would have the apprehension of someone grabbing you, so you'd definitely be assault. So.
Well, our camera is shut off again.
Son of a bitch.
So this is what we're going to do. We're going to end this one right here. And we're going to have to come back to all this because there's a lot more. And I'm going to find the recording of our first one because there were specific subjects that we talked about.
We talked about a bunch of stuff. And
We
we had a
did.
big crowd that night.
I know.
Yeah.
And it was
And then
really good.
people were chiming in.
I know.
But it was all recorded, I thought.
The voice was. And I'm going
Yes.
to pull it. I'm going to pull it. And
So
we're
you
going to
haven't
find
pulled
that.
voice off that thing in almost a year?
Yeah, because we got this program literally right after that. And so it was, we didn't need it, And so I just haven't pulled it from that. So,
Yeah.
But this is still recording voice. It's just our cameras acting
Died
up.
again for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. Yeah.
we're gonna have to figure that out. But this has been great. I think we should end it here just because we can't
Get the camera to
Get
work.
the stupid camera to work.
At least I'm pretty sure we got at least a full hour of video.
Oh, we did, definitely.
Yes.
It's been an
I
hour,
mean, yeah.
for sure.
We started early too.
Like an
didn't
hour
we?
and a half.
Yeah.
So
That's good.
this has
I
been
said I
awesome.
would be home by 9:30, so yeah. That's
Oh,
Okay.
this is perfect time.
I think you'll make it.
actually great.
I think you'll make
I live
it.
right down the road.
Yeah.
We appreciate you, brother. Thank you
for
so
having me.
much.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, man. We definitely have to do this again.
I've learned a lot again.
Yes.
So
It's
if anyone's listening without video, I do work for the Burton Law Firm. I do personal injury, criminal defense stuff.
Yes.
I'm gonna get y'all to post my contact info.
Yes.
Yeah, man.
On the video.
You got a website you want to throw out there?
We don't have a website, so actually
Okay.
one of the things we pride ourselves in is that we don't advertise.
Okay.
Send me that info,
So-
and I'll post it in the
Yeah.
information for the video.
We're not like Shannara, like you said. So
Yeah.
we work on referrals and doing things
You
like
don't
this
got
in the
billboards
community.
out there.
No, we don't need them. We're so busy that it's not necessary.
That's good.
Because we help people when they
I mean,
refer
that's
us to their
good,
family
but
and
it's
friends.
also not good. You know.
I don't really want my face on a billboard.
Yeah.
This is about as good as good.
Well,
as
I
it's
mean,
gonna get.
it's good that you're busy. The unfortunate part is that a lot of people need lawyers nowadays.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And so it's a great profession, but
Everyone
I wish,
hates us till they need us.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
But
for
I
sure.
just wish people could get along.
Yeah.
You know. It's what everybody hopes for.
I
Yeah.
mean, if I didn't have a job, the community would be a lot better. But they're gonna need us. It's gonna happen.
Hopefully we can keep the next one closer than the first
Than the
one. to
last
this
one.
Oh
one.
yeah, more
Yeah.
like
The next Mead Talk.
and I'll get
you
this
know.
posted within the next week. So
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds
hell
great.
yeah, we appreciate you, man. Let's
Yeah,
hit
man.
it. Wait, I gotta hit the right one this
Yes.
time.
Or you can do the clapping
I
and the
can-
wrong one. Hey, good job, guys. Yay.
You know, have y'all seen the